What AFC West wide receiver is in for a big bounce back in Week 11? Is one AFC South tight end ready to be a league winner? And is one grizzled quarterback a must-play for you this weekend? Plus, the ninth-place team owner in the FFPC Main Event, Vinny Bonta, hops aboard to break down Juwan Jennings' new role, Zay Flowers' second-half potential, and much more. We've got a great show for you. Ferrell Elliott is here. I'm Eric Balkman. Stick around. Your high-stakes fantasy football hour starts now.
Stand the pressure. I've seen greater men than need a lesson.
Broadcast live and heard around the world, you are now watching the most entertaining hour of radio on the planet. Welcome to the High Stakes Fantasy Football Hour presented by myffpc.com with your hosts Eric Balkman and Ferrell Elliott. The High Stakes Fantasy Football Hour is your home for analysis from the best players in the world. And now, because no one else was available, here are Eric Balkman and Ferrell Elliott.
Solace in the scripture. Are we not all our father's sons? I became a man. Nobody ever told me what a man was.
Hi, hello, and welcome. Greetings and salutations to all of you Bulkaholics and Ferrelliacs. Welcome to the latest episode of the High Stakes Fantasy Football Hour presented by myffpc.com. I'm your slightly above average host, Eric Balkman. You connect with me on X at Eric Balkman. That's EricBalkman. You know me from the RotoViz High Stakes Lowdown, the FFPC Insider Access Show on the Better Sports Network, and of course, the Fantasy Football Players Championship. My co-host is indeed the definitive commissioner of Fantasy Football, one Ferrell Elliott. Coming up on tonight's show, we're going to talk about what NFC North tight end is the best start for you in Week 11, why one AFC West running back is a really smart sleeper this weekend, and the ninth place team owner in the FFPC Main Event, Vinny Bonta, stops by to break down Oronde Gadsden, Keaton Mitchell, and so much more. If you want to connect with us on X, the show is at hsffhour. I'm at Eric Balkman. Check out Ferrell's Kentucky Fantasy Football State Championship at kffsc.com. You can also post on our Facebook page at facebook.com/hsffhour. Email the show at highstakesfantasyfootball@gmail.com. If you have any questions for us, now is the time to send them in. We'll try to get to all the chat room questions, X posts, and emails in the fantasy feedback segment coming up later on in the show. Thanks to our audio engineer and my best friend Bryce, and of course our producer and mutual friend Rob. If you are looking for some weekly action in the FFPC, look no further than the FFPC Weekly Challenge. It's live right now. There is no draft in this competition. There is no salary cap in this contest. You just pick 10 players or pick 12 players if you want to play in one of the FFPC Weekly Challenge leagues with kickers and defenses. You can win up to $2,500. You can play in a 10-team, a 30-team, or 100-team contest. Only one player per NFL team in your lineup. So if you want Patrick Mahomes, you can't have Rashee Rice. If you want Sam Darnold, you can't have Jackson Smith and Jigba. Register now at myffpc.com. These lineups are a lot of fun to put together, and they're even more fun when you're winning big with the FFPC. Remember to like this video, subscribe to the channel, comment on the video, share it with your friends, share it with your enemies, and get notified each and every time we go live. More on what's coming up next week. And the week that was in the FFPC family of podcasts. I'll tell you what's going on next week as well. Cannot do any of this without the co-host with the most, at jferrellelliott, at KFFSC official on X. KFFSC.com is where to check out the Kentucky Fantasy Football State Championship. And I welcome him in right now, Mr. Ferrell Elliott. Ferrell, good evening.
I am so honored, Balky. And I must tell you, I love the way you do the rundown and talk about the contest over at the FFPC. I mean, I don't know how people can keep from playing in it after you describe the weekly challenge. It's an incredible thing.
It is incredible, and it's a lot of fun. Want to chime in right now, or go into the chime-ins on the FFPC YouTube chat right now. We got James Hicks popping in. Good evening, Ferrell, Balky, and Oinker. Forgot to give him the introduction. Oinker's here. He's for some fantasy football. What do we call your Oinker?
Oinker.
Well, they're both Oinker. I thought I thought yours had a different name. They're both Oinker.
Well, mine's French, so he's Oinker.
Oinker and Oinker.
Yeah.
Ooh la la.
Yeah.
We also have Tom Smith piping in. Any kids or cats planned for tonight's show? It's my wife's birthday today, Ferrell.
Wow. Congratulations.
Yeah, yes, yeah. Now, she's out of town. She's at a resort at a resort town in southern Wisconsin right now with their friends for the weekend. But I've already put the kids to bed, so we are good to go. No cats, no kids, no promises on those. But anything is possible tonight as we move through.
Right.
I want to kick things off here and talk about a player that many people have been waiting on all season long, and that is one Trevion Henderson last night. I was watching that game. I had my show from 7 to 9 last night. My son had basketball practice, and my mother brought him home from basketball, and he and I share a team. And we talked about whether we're going to start Trevion Henderson all week, and we decided to. And I was so excited to tell him what Henderson did.
Yeah.
When he came in, he walks through the door, sees me sitting in the living room watching the game, and he goes, "Dad, Trevion Henderson." And I said, "I know." It was crazy. He was very excited. I was excited too. 19 carries, 62 yards, and 2 touchdowns. He also grabbed 5 catches for another 31 yards and a touchdown. Obviously, no Ramondre Stevenson in this game. 22 running back carries in the Patriots' backfield. Henderson got 19 of them, and he obviously was instrumental in the passing game, catching the Patriots' only touchdown of the game, too, the only receiving touchdown of the game. He scored 5 times in the last 2 games, and he's looked better than Ramondre Stevenson. He's looked like the most explosive running back they have on the roster, and he gets the Cincinnati Bengals next week. Ferrell, here's what I'm concerned about. If there's one thing to be concerned about with Henderson, it's Mike Vrabel, it's Josh McDaniels, and a quasi-healthy Ramondre Stevenson. If Stevenson's active next week, I mean, we still got to play Henderson, right? Or are you worried that even though the toothpaste is out of the tube, the Patriots can still destroy his fantasy value in Week 12?
No, I think this coaching staff, especially coming off the extra days of rest based on the Thursday night game, I think we're looking at a player here that the coaching staff understands brings a dynamic change to the offense. He's good for the quarterback. We haven't seen, and Ramondre Stevenson has had his days, but you know what? At 4.9 yards a carry of what we're getting now from Henderson, you've got to go back to 2022 to see that from Ramondre Stevenson. Ramondre has been less than 4 yards a carry. He's been slugging it out, and it's been a long time since he's looked like this kind of player. I think we see our starter now in Henderson and our complement player in Stevenson. And it'll take them both down the stretch to get there. But, yes, what a wonderful game it was to watch Henderson score and take that game over from a fantasy perspective.
You know, if you had Trevion Henderson on your team's probably not doing all that great given what you had to give up as far as draft capital to get him this season. However, if you were able to survive with Henderson being a middling running back or an unplayable running back for many weeks this year, and all of a sudden you're coming up on the playoffs and you got Henderson on your team and you're in the thick of it, you'd be doing some damage. We'll see what happens going forward there. Now, I want to bring up not a rookie here, but a guy who has had the best season of his career so far, and that's Quentin Johnston. He's questionable for the Chargers game against the Jaguars this week. Limited practice Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday. He's got a shin issue, and obviously it looks like he's more likely to suit up than not at this point. He is going to be playing on a team that features a healthy Ladd McConkey, granted a fading Keenan Allen, more on him coming up later on in the show, but then this this ascendant Arondé Gadsden on this offense. Ferrell, if you have Quentin Johnston, I think you should be playing him this weekend. Despite, with the shin injury and all, I still do like him. The Jaguars have struggled against perimeter receivers. I have a sneaking suspicion that this is going to be a Johnston week, and I'm putting him in my lineups.
Okay, Balky, and I can understand why you would do that. How many teams do we have on bye this weekend?
2. We have the Colts and the Saints. That's it.
With only 2 teams on bye this weekend, and both of those teams don't. Naturally, I don't know how we're going to have an NFL week without Pittman, but maybe he can recover from his poor subpar performance last week. But it's going to be close. I think owners of our FFPC teams or KFFSC teams that are near the top may have better choices, more obvious choices that they a clearer indication of what those receivers might do. That's just my feeling on Johnston. I'll put a lot of receivers in front of him, but I'm not hesitant to start him if I've got some bye issues and some injury issues.
Would you play Quentin Johnston over Parker Washington this week?
Yes.
Okay.
I don't even know who Parker Washington is. I'm facetious. I do. But well, yes, definitely.
Quentin Johnston, would you play him over Tez Johnson against the against the Bills? Beg your pardon.
I probably wouldn't. I like what Tez Johnson is doing. Now I have to take a look at who's coming back and who's available from Tampa. I'd have to eyeball that, but I really like what Tez Johnson is doing on the field. And Tez Johnson is 100% healthy.
Yeah.
I would play Johnson in front of Adam Thielen. I was a big believer in Thielen having success this year in Minnesota. 9 passes, Balky. He's caught 9 passes.
He has. Would you, and I feel like I probably shouldn't be asking you this, would you play Quentin Johnston over Trey Tucker this week? Tucker on Monday Night Football in Dallas. I beg your pardon, in Las Vegas against Dallas.
Well, anytime anyone's in Las Vegas, I feel really good for them, and I like their chances. But it depends on what I need. If my team needs a big home run, I'm going to remember that Trey Tucker is on a team. They've taken the punt return job away from him. Jacoby Myers is out of the building, and Trey Tucker has put up 45 points in a game this year, and he's playing the Dallas Cowboys. So I'm probably going to play Trey Tucker if I need to hit a home run. If I don't need to hit a home run, I might want to play Trey Tucker anyway because I think I can trust what he'll do over Johnston. So you're higher on Johnston than I am.
Yeah.
The thing about it is that Johnston has a wonderful quarterback, and all he has to do is show up, run the route, get open, and catch the ball because the quarterback's going to put the ball on him. You can't necessarily say that might be happening in Las Vegas.
That is a spicy matchup on Monday Night Football. The Raiders are 3.5-point dogs, and it is a total of 49.5. Could be a big Trey Tucker.
It's a great fantasy football Monday night game. I don't know about it being a great game, but it's a great Monday night football fantasy game.
Yeah, Tom Smith chiming in. Ashton Genty, Rico Dowdle, Devon Achane should all have big games this week. He's probably right on that, too. I think Genty's going to –
He usually is. Old Tom's usually right.
Yeah, he's usually right. Genty's going to run wild on the Dallas Cowboys on Monday Night Football.
That'd be good to see.
It would. Dalton Kincaid, we will not see him this week, Ferrell, because he's been ruled out for the Buccaneers game on Sunday. Joe Biscaglia posting this on X earlier today. I beg your pardon, earlier yesterday. Sean McDermott decided to rule out Dalton Kincaid yesterday, despite him not having the opportunity to play in Friday's practice. Did not practice Wednesday, did not practice Thursday. Seemingly always viewed as a long shot to be playing in Week 11. Now, here's what's interesting in the FFPC, tight end premium, obviously. Dawson Knox is going to start against the Buccaneers. You also have Jackson Hawes, the rookie who caught a touchdown last week. I get it that there's only 2 teams on bye. You shouldn't be this desperate, but with Kincaid not being there, maybe you are that desperate. Knox has caught 12 passes for 155 yards. He's gotten in the end zone once this season, but he's never gotten more than 37 yards in any single game. Ferrell, am I digging down the wrong hole to find fantasy value from Dawson Knox this week, even against Tampa in a game where we know Kincaid is not going to be playing and the Bills still really do not have a number 1 receiver?
No, they don't. And it becomes very difficult to trust any of the Bills receivers when you run them out there. Coleman came to life with a touchdown pass last week. Shakir, the modest 12 points sometimes. He seems to score more when I play him and less when I don't, which means I'm hitting him at the lucky times. Okay. Knox is a capable backup tight end, positioned to be a starter. You could do worse, think 12, 15 points as your top. He'll score for you, but 12, 15 points as your top. And that's probably, if you're stretching to get in those FFPC playoffs, that's probably not what you want.
I would be thrilled if I got 12 points out of Dawson Knox this week. And hopefully it doesn't come to that for anybody who is like, I had to check my labs. We should mention this too, Ferrell, as long as we're talking about tight ends that are not going to be playing this week. We found out earlier today that the Lions have also ruled out Sam Laporta.
That's bad.
Not going to be playing against the Eagles in Week 11. Was never able to practice at all this week. Brock Wright, the backup tight end for the Lions, listed as questionable. He got in limited practice Thursday and limited practice on Friday. This is good news for Amon-Ra St. Brown, Jamison Williams, and Jahmyr Gibbs. However, horrible news if you have Laporta. Hopefully you have a good backup tight end, because this, I don't want to say came out of nowhere, but it did surprise me a little bit. Maybe it shouldn't have, Ferrell.
Run to the waiver wire and pick up Dawson Knox.
Dawson Knox, I think if you had Laporta and you've been rolling with one tight end, all season, then yes, Knox in that case, the player that you want to grab.
Yeah, Dawson, you said 12. I said 12 to 15 points. That's 6 catches, 40 yards. And in that kind of controlled offense, that could happen.
One more tight end topic I want to get to before we bring on the 9th place team owner in the FFPC main event, Vinny Bonta. Brenton Strange, limited in practice on Thursday, Ferrell. This is a guy who's seemingly been out since, I think, September, I want to say. He's
been limited in the games, too, not only practice.
Yeah. Now, the latest we got on him this afternoon is that he is not playing against the Chargers this week. Did not practice at all on Friday. So he's in this 21-day window. There was no urgency for the Jaguars to activate him this week. I don't think you want to play Johnny Munt, who's going to be starting at tight end for the Jaguars. But he's a possibility for Week 12. And I wonder what the landscape's going to look like. Brian Thomas questionable for this weekend's game against the Chargers. I wonder what the landscape's going to be like when Strange does come back. And he's competing with Jacoby Myers and Brian Thomas. Won't be competing with Travis Hunter anymore. But Strange, when he got hurt, was the leading pass catcher, the most yards, receiving yards of anybody on the team. He misses all this time. I just don't know. It's a head scratcher. Brenton Strange when he does come back, hopefully in Week 12.
Yeah, you seem to be cashing in a lot on this Brenton Strange. You got a personal interest going on here.
Yeah, I have him. It was funny because there was a lot of teams. I shouldn't say a lot. There was a few teams I drafted, Ferrell. George Kittle and Brenton Strange were my 1 and 2 tight ends. Did not draft the third one. And it was rough on those teams when both those guys were on IR at the same time. I picked him back up in a couple other leagues where people dropped him. I don't know. I think there might be something there. I don't know in a non-tight end premium league if I'm going to use him at all. But he is a former second-round pick, pedigreed guy out of Penn State. So I do believe in him. It's just a matter of him getting back on the field.
Well, okay. I believe in the believers, and I think it's a wonderful thing that Brenton Strange people would want to put him on the field. I, on the other hand, as previously mentioned in shows throughout the year, I take 2025 off with the Jags. I took the whole year off, and this is. I would start Laporta and pray for a miracle healing.
Well, we don't have to pray for a miracle to have a great guest tonight because we got.
Oh, we do. We got.
He's coming aboard right now. He's got 2 high stakes fantasy football titles with the FFPC already under his belt. But he's got his sights set on much bigger things in 2025. As going into Week 11, he sits at 9th place overall in the FFPC main event, a competition that will feature a $1 million grand prize to the winner. Will this guy be the winner? Potentially. We're going to talk with him about that tonight. Please welcome onto the program, Mr. Vinny Bonta. Vinny, welcome. Good evening, sir.
Oh, no, Venti.
This might
unmute, buddy.
I'm trying to unmute him right now.
Let's get in. Let's get some voice with Vinny. Go.
Hold on, Vinny.
Hey, sorry.
We got you. All right.
Hey, sorry about that. I'm trying to work while being with you guys. Appreciate you guys having me on. Nice to meet you too.
Absolutely. Good meeting you, Vinny. This is so much fun to have you on tonight. Dude, 9th place overall in the main event. This has got to be electric. Because you've been up there for several weeks now in the top 10. Got to be electric looking up at that leaderboard at the end of every week and seeing your team right up at the top.
Yeah, Eric, it was a lot more fun when Cam Scotabo and Hunter was still alive for my team. So those were a little less fun than it was 2 weeks ago for the dream of $1 million that probably is less likely now.
But isn't it a testament to how
No.
good your team is that you're still in the top 10 without Scadaboo, without Hunter?
Well, Eric, not to get a little too behind the scenes, but one of your questions roasting my roster management, which is very fair, was because someone in my league dropped Aaron Jones, which then led to my entire waiver wire budget being thrown on him. So that also helps to be added Aaron Jones middle of the season. So
I'm surprised Aaron Jones was even available.
Yeah.
He would have been right
Correct.
on the line as a guy that would have been available to be dropped.
there's a reason I have $2 left.
I got you.
That was my next question, is how much money you have left. But yeah, at least you got Aaron Jones, and it's looking like his backfield right now too, which is very
nice
exciting.
for sure.
We're going to continue the fantasy football conversation in a little bit. When you're not winning FFPC leagues, when you're not hanging around the top of the FFPC Main Event leaderboard, Vinny, what are you doing for a living, sir?
Yeah, I'm a professional sports bettor. I've been in the gambling industry for about actually 6 years now. I've been professional. So that started with poker for me, then led to Advantage casino games, whether that's slot machines or some table games, and then to sports. So I got my master's in counseling in 2019, and then went full-fledged the opposite direction, professional gambler. So a little different.
That's a different form of counseling.
A little bit, Ferrell, for sure.
Sometimes it's self-counseling that you might have to do. Did you have Louisville tonight?
I currently do not. I've been trying to find a live position on them, but no, I'm not on either side.
Oh man, well, good for you. When you start winning or get on a roll, do you turn that rally cap around and wear it in the front, or do you always wear it in the back? Is this the rally cap that you have on this week? Or
That's a great question, Ferrell. I think it's more if it's on my head, that means I'm either winning or barely losing. It's when you lose a lot, the hat's on the ground.
Yeah, you throw that damn thing across the room.
I think it's a much better indication. Yeah. But yeah, I've been going really, I would say scaling for like a business standpoint with others, having people work for me and others for about the last 3 years. So I will say I'm much more into the best ball streets because of a lot of the tools available, makes it from like a time ROI worth it, where these contests, I'm a massive whale in. I mean, I'm probably losing in most of these fields, especially with the week-to-week roster construction or the ideas in season. I can't keep up nearly as much. So I would say you want me in your league, because I will make mistakes all over the place for sure.
Yeah, we want the guy that's in 9th place in our league. Let's try to sell one hard bug. Okay, here's something that this is one of my favorite receivers in the league, Juwan Jennings, San Francisco.
Yep.
This week at Arizona, he gets his quarterback returning from the toe injury. Although I thought he had some pretty good things going on with Mac Jones. You could have got some long odds on Mac Jones being successful this year.
Of course.
And Ricky Pearsall comes back. So really what I'm looking for is a commentary. Our great guest and great friend of the FFPC, the KFFSC, Stephen Giorgalis, said early on, why all the talk about Jennings? He only had 2 or 3 good games last year. And that's correct. What I've seen from Jennings this year is a little bit more stability. And he's one of those guys that sometimes pops up with a 45-point game. Mm-hmm. How are you handling this mix of players this weekend? Because I'm tempted to leave Jennings in a couple of my lineups, but I want to hear your thoughts on Jennings with all these things happening.
Yeah, Ferrell, I would say, again, I would – in domains that I feel like I'm an expert, I will comment and give a great opinion. This is one I don't feel as strongly about. I think it's obviously pretty roster dependent of more than anything. I mean, I think the biggest note of why Jennings was someone I was very high on is just his third down success rate. That's pretty quantifiable, and you can change year to year. That's something that can be a pretty good litmus test for success and stability outside of in other areas. So I don't know, like, I think the healthiness is one that's really difficult for us to truly know. I would say Jennings in the offense is going to be more of a consistent person from little, I would say. So I don't know. I mean, I would say completely where you stand from if you need upside, I like Jennings for that standpoint, and it all depends on roster.
Yeah, and you're right. That third down, I think about that. He's such a big guy. He wins the 50-50 ball. It would make sense that he delivers for you on third down.
Vinny, I got to ask you the betting aspect. Do you think playing best ball, playing season-long fantasy, does that make you a sharper better, and then vice versa? Does the betting help you become a sharper fantasy football player?
That's a good question, Eric. I would say from a game theory perspective, I do some live football, but really most of my sports betting is in other sectors, a lot of derivative markets, and then also not as much from the player prop standpoint. Player props are really hard to get a lot of liquidity down. Actually, pretty relevant with all the illegal sports gambling being props. A lot of misconceptions are happening that aren't really accurate. They're being said, but in general, I would say, like, for me, the reason I would say I'm smarter in that, like, I don't know if you guys have seen the movie. Gosh dang it! They have a line that says, in any industry, you either need to be first to be the best, you either need to be the smartest, the first, or you need to cheat. Those are the only three ways. And for me, what I would say in the sports domain and in best ball, I just listen to people much smarter than me, Eric. So, like, for me, I think the ego goes down, which sucks because I feel like a poor guess. Because for me, my fantasy football expert comes to a lot of people who I listen to, and the tools that I use were much less than myself, and just being able to discern who I feel is quite sharp opposed to who I think is kind of just a sucker.
The movie you are referring to stars Kevin Spacey, Paul Bettany,
Call.
Jeremy Irons. There you go. Margin Call came out 14 years ago. So it's
a great movie, but it's a great line, and it is true in life. I mean, I think we all want to act like we're the main characters of the story and the smartest person in the room, and I don't think that's the most important skill always, and could lead to losing quite a bit.
Ferrell, oftentimes we talk movies after the show. I'm telling you, this cast: Spacey, Bettany, Jeremy Irons, Zachary Quinto, Penn Badgley, Demi Moore, Stanley Tucci. This is
excellent.
Spacey used to be able to get good jobs before he was cut. He used to be.
Yeah.
He could. Boy, I tell you what, Balky, there's a receiver that's going to play at the Rams this weekend that just got a new good job. What do you think about him, Balky?
Well, here's the thing. Like, we saw Rashid Shaheed get involved in his first game as a member of the Seahawks. Like, not heavily, obviously.
Yep.
But he knew the offense basically because he played under a similar offense when Clint Kubiak was the OC in New Orleans in 2024. So it wasn't like that big of a transition. But I will say, seeing him utilized right away in the first game has me kind of interested to see what's going to happen going forward. What do you expect, Vinny? Not only this weekend when the Seahawks play the Rams and what could be a deciding game in the NFC West race, but maybe also to determine the number one seed in the playoffs. What do you expect from Shaheed this weekend? And then what do you think we're going to get from him down the stretch here as he gets more and more acclimated to his new teammates, new coaching staff in Seattle?
That's a good question, Eric. I mean, I think for my roster construction specifically, I was really excited to have him in that week 15 to 17, high leverage in a 16-17 when I either need to gain on the field, not be a consistent starter for my lineup. And I don't know, like you get the push-pull, right? I mean, you're in a much more efficient offense, but the targets will be down. I mean, he is not going to take enough targets away from JSN, nor should he, that he would get in New Orleans. But the quality of target should be much higher. So it's a really difficult one where I think it is a net neutral, and it's going to really determine how you want to play it in those crucial week 15, 17 weeks. So I think it's a net neutral for both reasons, and I can see the arguments from both sides, which is the worst opinion you can give.
Oh, the warmest places in hell are reserved for those who are neutral, Mr. B.
Actually, I wish I want to lie through my teeth like I know that's how you get clicks. That's why I'm not on First Take.
Either Churchill or Kevin Spacey said that, Balky.
I don't know who it was, but I will say this: like for all the shows that I do, like I am also not like a heavy it's this way or that way. I'm not a polarizing guy. I recognize, and you as a pro sports bettor probably recognize the need to understand range of outcomes, because that's how everything is usually decided, right? Mm-hmm. And so I don't like to be the guy that's so heavily on one side or the other. Yeah, I have leans. We all have leans, but I'm not. I understand. Like nothing surprises me anymore in pro. I'm 45 years old. I've seen too much crazy stuff.
You've seen enough.
Yeah. Like so, I know that like it's a fool's errand to say like this is how it is. This is how it's going to be.
Yeah.
Book it, ship it. You know that's not the way that sports works.
But Eric, I think you do bring up a really good point, and I think one thing that's really exciting about Shahid is for that stretch run, which is the only thing that matters. Like, yes, it's really fun to be in 9th place. It's really fun to be in 3rd place, but I'm fighting for 5,000 in that sense. Where I think Shahid is still an excellent bench player and a really good leverage play to have during those crucial weeks, which is what really matters. And I just love having those types of players to be able to put in when the money is all in.
Right.
He's the kind of guy that if he had a breakout game, a huge week, you could say, I saw that coming.
Yeah, of course.
I expected that from him.
Absolutely, Ferrell.
When this player was in college, I looked at him, I said, holy smoke, this is the next Tyreek Hill. And then he gets drafted by the Baltimore Ravens. And I said, well, he's going to contribute and things are going to be different. And it never has been. And I view I view Flowers as the kind of guy that will always underperform in the numbers, but will always be expected from fantasy players, great expectations. This year we're dealing with 50 catches, which kind of puts him on par. I said he would end up 70, 75 this year. We're dealing with 1 touchdown. Andrew is still getting most of the touchdowns over there. Right. What do you see from Flowers going forward?
Ferrell, I would like that range of outcomes to start hitting the tail ends of touchdowns because he is a guy who I'm going to, like you said, I'm going to fall in love with and really what you're seeing from JSN, I would love to be able to see of a guy who can just win at every facet. I would love to see the touchdowns obviously start going his way a little bit more and for the Lamar to come a little bit more clean from an injury standpoint. And, like maybe there is a sense of we won't see Lamar pushing it from a run standpoint in the 15, 16, 17, which hopefully is going to be pretty beneficial for Zay. But he's just the type of guy I'm going to die with all the time. Like a guy who gets open, a receiver who gets open in fantasy football is just my favorite type of guy in every format. So, has he been disappointing? Yeah, for sure. And I wish I had a lot more. And a lot of people much smarter than me have told me to keep betting on Zay Flowers. So I'm going to keep losing money doing it until hopefully I eventually win. But I had a very similar feeling to you, Ferrell. And I really do think there's still a lot of upside. And I think the volume can easily be there for him.
He was a 5th round draft pick, Balky, by the time we got to the Paris and Planet Hollywood and all the area in Vegas and we're drafting. Was that about right?
Yeah, I'm gonna look that up. It does not strike me as that, but the more I think about it, I think you're right.
I got him at the 6-7 turn at mine, but I think that draft was I believe the last week before because I only really fired the FFPC main. It's kind of interesting. My mom, I got her into fantasy football for the first time. We did a main event team. She bought a little bit just to get her some excitement, and then I'm like, oh wait, every entry after this is $1,600. So I'm like, oh, you guys got me. Awesome. Congrats. So because of that, I got more teams in than I initially would have done in general. But yeah, he was I think I got him like the 7-1 in general, but that was pretty late from.
Yeah, 604 was his ADP, final ADP of the season. It was right after Pearsall and Waddle, right before Pickens, Travis Hunter, and Rashee Rice. So that's where Zay Flowers was going. I want to bring up tight ends here. And I'm going to phrase this in a very polite way because I don't know. There's a lot of explanations for a lot of stuff. Now, currently in your Week 11 lineup, I noticed Dallas Goedert in your starting lineup. I noticed Oronde Gadsden in your starting lineup. Makes perfect sense for both those guys to be in there.
Just stop.
Okay. All right. No, so everybody's like, okay, well, what are we getting at here? Well, what I'm getting at here is you also roster 2 other tight ends on this team, Taysom Hill and Jonnu Smith. Now, I know of a few reasons you might want to keep these guys around, but I want to know why Vinny Bonta is keeping these guys on his roster right now. You have Goddard and Gadsden. Why are Hill and Smith still important to this roster?
The question is, are they? So I had a nice luxury of having a running back room of Taylor, Jacobs, Scatabo, Aaron Jones. So my running back room was safe. The biggest issue of my team was the early season Goddard pick, where he showed some early injury concerns. The pass game for Philly was questionable. So I really wanted to shore up that tight end room that all my other rooms felt pretty confident. And then Gatson blew up, who was a big guy just from his college stuff that I had a ton of best ball, just really like. I've been, I think, 3 of my 5 main event teams. But the issue was when I would start, and then I wanted Hill just because I thought the Saints' total volume of plays were going to be much higher. I was buying the coach speak of the running gun offense. I thought Hill is like another type of guy I really like to have from a really low ownership perspective who can have those 2 touchdown games that seem quite good. But then Goddard really was a focal part of the offense. Gatson did. So then I'm like, cool, I have my tight ends. But then you lose Travis Hunter. Then you lose Cam Scatabo. So you drop those guys ahead of them. Then you put all your waiver wire budget into Aaron Jones and you have $3. So the issue is not from a standpoint of me really being super in on these guys now. It's a game of prioritize Aaron Jones, and now I've guys on the IR. So they are spots for me most likely.
The $2 you're keeping around for like a kicker or something like that, just in case.
Yeah, I have right now I have Pinheiro, who is a week 14 buy. So still from like a money made standpoint, I believe that having to get that kicker for the week 14 championship would be probably enough money to overcome opposed to the other players I've seen. If I can find someone, that might differ, but yeah, that would happen. And then in the rare case of if a Jalen Hurts hits hurt, I'd pick up a second quarterback to go through the playoff run. So all that just seems a lot more important to me. I agree with you, Eric. I wish I didn't have Taysom Hill and Jonnu Smith also on the roster. I wish I had Travis Hunter and Cam Scatabo still, but sadly.
But here's the thing. Like the opportunity cost for that was getting Aaron Jones on your roster, which
much more important.
Prove very fruitful.
Yeah.
For you. Curiously, what did you pay for him that you won him?
It was in the 600s, I believe.
Okay. Right.
Yeah. A guy like that's just way too important. He cannot.
What would have got him? What was the second bid?
My league was they were so bad. I think it was like in the 300s. It was embarrassing. But
you could have $302 right now. It's what.
But you could have known that. There's no way you could have known.
Course.
He's a numbers expert.
Daryl, I wish I
roll that cap around and make those bids correctly.
It's a probability thing. It's a range of outcomes thing. I don't fault Vinny. I don't fault you at all for that.
Yeah. So, but anyway, we'll see. They're dead roster spots that I wish I didn't have, but I'm happy with the way it played out outside of the decision process. I wish I'd maybe saved like $3 or $4 extra. But again, I'm bad. Like the waiver wire stuff, I am bad at. I'm going to make terrible decisions. I'm going to make horrible lineup decisions. I do it every week. I do it at 9:55 p.m. Like lineups at 12:55. It's just not my main priority. So I'm going to make mistakes, which sucks. But
well, I got news for you, Vinny, and you probably already know this. There's a lot of people that put in a lot more work than you do as far as managing these rosters and putting bids in, and they still make a lot of mistakes.
Of course, it's fantasy football. It's the best. That's why we do it. That's why you can gamble a little bit, even if it's slightly minus EV. I get the minus whatever thousand at the end of the year to put into the taxes.
I love that. I find fantasy football players very, very generous. Guys are always offering to buy me drinks or dinner when we're in Las Vegas.
That's just because you're a nice guy, Ferrell.
Well, yeah, but when we need to have an extra owner for a team, somebody steps up and says, I'll take that team, Ferrell. Don't worry, we'll finish that. But when it comes to bidding, fantasy football players are very cheap. They don't want to spend all that money. They would rather get to week 14 with extra dollars in their pocket that they can't use. Remember that, Vinny. That's the only advice that I will intend to give you. I want to talk about tight ends too, Balky.
Yeah.
I want to go to Cleveland, where Vinny, we got a guy down here who's also from Ohio, John Anderson. That's all he could talk about was the Bowling Green Falcon product. Harold Fannin.
Baby. Yep.
That's all he wanted to talk about was Fannin. And I look at some of the stats. Fannin was available late, and I think he got up to early double digits. He was a bargain wherever I could get him, and occasionally you could get him on the waiver wire this year. 42 catches for Fannin. so far this season. 50 for Warren. You had to pay a lot to get Warren. And Warren's sitting in an offense where everything's working. Fannin is a Cleveland Brown. What do you do when you have Cleveland Browns, when you have Fannin and you have Njoku, who's caught much less, maybe 30 catches this year? What do you do with those two players? And to me, there's no conversation. Fannin is the start. You feel the same way?
Yeah, I mean, Fannin is, I think, my highest drafted player in all of best ball. I have him on some of I think 3 of my 5 main event teams. He was one of my guys I loved. The advanced stuff was great, like you mentioned. The Bowling Green production was awesome. And I think he's just the biggest vocal point of the offense. He gets goal line carries. I mean, there are times he will get stuff around the end zone that is massive. Not as massive at FFPC as in a FanDuel or other contests, for example, but he is the focal point of the offense. Now, the biggest bummer is I think a lot of us read some coach speak and believed that Njoku would be getting traded. So the trade deadline was a massive bummer for a lot of us Fannin truthers who really were excited for that. But yeah, I mean, I think it's overall a bummer that Fannin's upside is going to be in 2026, 2027, and that really limits his ceiling. If you put who I think, if you run through a sim, who's going to project better, it's going to be Fannin from total targets. But I think both are fine. They're not the upsides that both talents could be with their skill set.
You know, I think that a lot of people, and definitely myself included on this, the majority of my roster now, for a lot of my leagues, is not going to be super long on wide receivers. It's going to be long on backup running backs, because if one of these starting running backs goes down, you get maybe a 1 or 2 week window with the backup. That could be what propels you up the leaderboards and into the huge money. One of the situations I'm watching is Baltimore, because Derrick Henry, while he is an alien and while he retire, and I do recognize that he is an aging 30-year-old running back, and I recognize the possibility that there's a chance he could go down. If he does, who do you think you should be rostering on your FFPC teams, Vinny? Is it Justice Hill or is it Keaton Mitchell? In the event of a Derrick Henry injury, who's the biggest beneficiary there in the backfield in Baltimore?
Man, do you guys have the login to my Best Ball Explorer page and know all my favorite guys? I mean,
yes, I do.
Man, Eric, we need to talk. We need to change some passwords of mine. Yeah, I mean, so I'm coming into this. I think Keaton Mitchell is my number 1 drafted running back as well, which is quite funny. So I mean, again, when you're winning these contests for 15 and 17, and again, I might be around my behind in terms of the roles that would happen in that time. I don't see a reason why the majority of the outside and third down stuff winning could be Keaton Mitchell. I still think the upside seems quite high for a week that you were looking for in those crucial weeks. Now, I could be very wrong. I thought Mitchell would have either a little bit bigger role or be traded. It was quite bad in my opinion. But again, the Derrick Henry injury, it might still be good. I was really pulling for an injury. I lean Mitchell. I could easily be wrong. I think you'd want in best ball scenarios going to be more likely to put in those 10 to 15 point outcomes with the pass catching role. I believe I would say Mitchell, but I also like to swing big in this case. So I could also be, but I think Mitchell.
Mitchell. Okay. Now, Vinny, one of the first rules of broadcasting is just lean in and stay over that mic because we want to hear these fine words that you're laying on us.
He's got his pods in, Ferrell.
Yeah. I have my pods in, so I'm sorry. I'm sorry if they're not catching everything.
That's fine.
They're a little bit like Josh Downs. They're not catching everything.
Before you get it, I know you want to ask another running back question. Ray C on YouTube just pointed out that Justice Hill is out this week, and he has been practicing this week, but he's out despite being a limited participant in practice. He's got a toe issue, and apparently Keaton Mitchell, who is battling a knee issue, not even on the final injury report. So
Beautiful.
It's looking very good that Mitchell's the right guy there. To your point, Vinny. Ferrell, I'm sorry for interrupting. Go ahead.
You did not interrupt, sir. You came in with very important information, and I was impressed by it. Now I want to give you, you're talking about those late round running backs, Balky, for next year. I was on those late round running backs this year. Any success that I may have, I probably owe to that. Woody Marks was one of them. And God bless Woody Marks. I haven't always played him at the right time, but I sure think I'm going to play him this weekend against the Tennessee Titans. 140 yards, 27th in rushing defense, 140 plus yards. The Titans give up on the ground every single game. I'm thrilled to have this player in the lineup, and I really don't think of a lot of players that I would flex over him. How much Woody Marks you got, and do you feel is engaged with this Texan running back as I do?
Yeah, I like Woody Marks a lot. I have another first place team in the main event, and it's a 0 running back. Looks a lot different than the team we've talked about. And it's a Woody Aaron Jones backfield, and I think the upside on that team is pretty low, but I don't feel like I'm missing because of Woody. I think the pass catching role, and I think we saw a pretty big delineation last week of a role that Nick Chubb could have had that he didn't. And yes, it was a very pro Woody script of getting behind quite early. But even before that, he was getting a lot more work. And it's one of those things with these rookies that's so exciting. When the toothpaste is out of the tube, going back feels pretty bad. It feels really the pressure. Oftentimes when we talk about these NFL coaches that they might make suboptimal decisions often comes from the perception of their fans and their management. It's really hard to want to then go back to Nick Chubb after what we've seen from Woody. So Ferrell, I think you're spot on of having Woody for a lot going forward seems really good to me. I wish I had a lot more than I do personally. I just wanted nothing to do with the Texans backfield personally. And I might cost me some money down the road.
Well, the thing that irritated me about it was I could tell this guy was a pass catcher, coming out of college. And then they went ahead and got Nick Chubb. And I'm like, God, I just totally see the Texans wanting to grind clock, play with a tough defense. D'Amico Ryan's putting his stamp on that. And I didn't know if Marks was ever going to have the opportunity to be that guy. And by the way, there was a lot of smart people out there saying that he wouldn't. Like, it's not in his skill set to be a 3-down guy or even a 1B. And we're kind of seeing that maybe he is capable of that. He's going to have another opportunity to shine again this week in week 11. I want to get to a few emails here as long as we have some time with you, Vinny. Roger in Gardena, California writes, which Packers receiver should I roster the rest of the way? Matthew Golden or Jaden Reed? Thank you for the email, Roger. Vinny, how do you feel about Golden versus Reed?
Man, Reed is a really hard subject. In my highest stakes leagues I'm in, I have him on both of them, and man, does it suck. And I'm not sure. I haven't kept up to date with the Reed injury news. My assumption is it's going to be pretty difficult for him to be a major part of this offense. So purely from what you expect to get, I still think the first-round rookie, even though he has been quite disappointing from what I was hoping for, it just seems like a safer bet if you had to pick one of the two. If Reed were to be 75% of what he is, you choose Reed. I mean, Reed is the guy you would want for these types of late-round weeks. But, I mean, I think it's just got to be Golden, right? Am I missing something, Eric?
The only thing I'll say about Reed, and I think Rob Domofsky from ESPN posted this on X yesterday, both Marshawn Lloyd and Jaden Reed, neither one of them have their practice windows opened up yet because they're still both on injured reserve. However, this week, and they couldn't take video or photos or anything like this, but this week he did report that both of these guys were working up quite a sweat, working off to the side.
Yes.
It's the most vigorous that they've done anything in practice. As far as how long they've been out. So I would imagine they're fairly close, but you never know. The thing is with Reed, I mean, with no Tucker Kraft and Christian Watson now battling a knee and a hamstring thing. There is an opportunity for Reed to get back. I think
for sure
more that Kraft role than Golden would. I think Golden would like the Watson type guy. So, and listen, the Packers need answers on offense, and maybe Reed could be one of those answers.
Yeah, and Eric, you bring up a good point where I think initially in the season when the injury first happened, it was, man, if the Packers are really playing as well as they are, why rush this guy back?
Mhm.
Save him for the playoffs, save him for a little bit later. Doesn't look that way anymore. So, man, I mean, I think what you said is correct. But again, this is a difficult thing of projecting injuries as three guys who aren't medical doctors and just trying to read the little Twitter notes. You are absolutely correct. If Reed is a 75% or greater of what he is, it's not even close, Jaden Reed, from what we've seen from Matthew Golden. Nothing would support Matthew Golden outside of the people who love rookies. But
the only reason I even bring Golden up in the conversation is we've seen these rookie receivers the last third of the season, the second half of the season, especially these pedigree guys in the first round. We've seen them take off. I don't know if that's going to happen with Golden this year, but I at least bring it up as a possibility, as again, a range of outcomes.
Of course. But usually, correct me if I'm wrong, this could be wrong. Usually that also comes from an increase of workload as well. Matthew Golden's one of the few guys who's gotten to like one of the better range of outcome scenarios for him. He got the Jaden Reed injury. Christian Watson was still hurt. Like the beginning was supposed to be that. I feel like it's less likely for me to see the rise from these guys who got a ton of work and for that to change during the later part of the season opposed to more opportunity, I guess, when he got that already. But I could be way wrong. But yeah, I think Golden is a more likely 2026 and beyond potential.
Totally. For me. 100%. I'm with you on that for sure. Dave in Dallas has the other email here for you tonight, Vinny. He says, "What's up, Vinny? How much of the backfield touches is RJ Harvey going to get this weekend with no J.K. Dobbins? Good luck the rest of the way." That's Dave in Dallas. So RJ Harvey, the lead guy now in Denver, but he's still dealing with Tyler Bidet, Jaleel McLaughlin. God knows Sean Payton will probably bring Terrell Davis back at some point. Orlando Scary, I would imagine, would factor in this conversation. RJ Harvey, your thoughts on him? How many of those touches, what percentage of the backfield touches do you think he's going to get?
Man, if we could predict what Sean Payton was going to do, the three of us would not be doing this podcast. And the Cayman Islands retired. I mean, it would be it'd be a lot easier, man, to do. But yeah, I mean, my guess is whatever we project, it's going to be lower than that for some reason. But I have no idea. I haven't looked at what his splits. I didn't look at anything really from last week, which should be a pretty strong indicator. I wish I could give a better answer. I know nothing really from last week about what it looked like. You guys have much better insight than I do.
I think the head coach will look down that bench at all those other guys Balky just mentioned and keep Harvey on the field.
I hope.
That's exactly
great.
I think will happen.
I don't know. Ferrell, do you remember at what? Well, I mean, I guess it doesn't matter because Dobbins finished the game last week. Despite the injury, he had 18 carries to RJ Harvey's 4. Dobbins had 1 catch. RJ Harvey had 2 on 3 targets. So it was still a lot of Dobbins, but Tyler Bidet had 1 target. Like there was nothing else in that backfield going on besides Dobbins and Harvey. So
but Dobbins has been ruled out, correct?
He's out.
Yeah, for a while. Who's been getting the third down work, Eric? Is it like I would be shocked if Harvey is getting the pass down work still. I thought it was the McLaughlin. Bidet will probably still be getting a majority of that. So I still think there's like Harvey still isn't going to get the workhorse role that you would really want from the potential upside you're wanting from like the 4th, 5th round rookie, I believe, where at least from what I've seen, I could be way wrong, but I would be pretty surprised from that sense. We still going to be obviously very fantasy relevant and most likely a pretty strong play in general. But if your roster doesn't play RJ Harvey, you're going to be in a really good position. Is for sure what you're probably.
Why do you have him? If you're not going to play now, why you have him?
Of course.
Balky, you got any more emails?
No, I get it. This is all you, my friend.
Yeah, I'll tell you what. I love this expression of yours, way wrong. I'm going to claim that and use that. But you are not allowed to be way wrong when you get question 10 at the end of the night, buddy, because you got to give us a sleeper. Can't be anybody we've even talked about yet. It's got to be something new. Tom Smith sitting there out in San Diego waiting for a sleeper from you. And then we got to get – we essentially have to get from you the guy that is everyone will start but should be the bust. Who is this week's Denver quarterback Nix? Who's going to really turn in a bust? So these are the things that we must know from you, Mr. Vinny.
I feel really bad about this because I was on the golf course today with a client and was reading these questions, and I did not get to research this one. I got behind, so I feel I do not have an answer, and I really apologize.
We want shooting from the hip. We love shooting from the hip.
I don't even know who plays each other. I mean, I haven't looked at any. I don't even know any of the matchups or anything.
Ninth place overall.
The Bears are playing East Carolina. The Bears have East Carolina this week.
Man, I mean, get Cole Kmet with the backups. You're going to be, if they're going to be up 100-0, get Cole Kmet, get everyone. Yeah, I mean, I think for the biggest thing, I think Eric really touched on it, and I'm going to switch the conversation a little. These backup running backs, these Marshawn Lloyds, even these Tyler Algiers, who aren't going to be available, they're going to win people millions of dollars. They're going to win people hundreds of thousands of dollars. These are the guys on your waiver wire you can still get. There's still opportunities to change the course of your life if you just click the right $2 bid even potentially. So I think these thin wide receivers that we keep talking about, we should really be – your receivers are set. You're not going to find the diamond in the rough receiver. You're just not really going to. These running backs are pretty crucial. And I think in general, these running back rooms aren't even close to being finalized for when it really matters is the biggest takeaway. And I apologize for not answering the question. Really bad radio, of course.
That's all right. But what I can do, Vinny, is offer you a redemption here because we got MLUC7EX on YouTube. Vinny, I think Taysom Hill has a chance to start at quarterback this year. Sorry if already discussed, just got here. We appreciate you just getting here. Better late than never. Obviously, Tyler Shook has taken over. You think what are the chances that Kellen Moore would give Taysom Hill a start or two at quarterback this season, Vinny?
I wish 100, but 0.
Yeah,
I mean, the issue is with the Saints, how they're working through this season. They want to figure out what they have, and there's no reason to not give reps to Tyler Shough, even to Spencer Rattler. Like this isn't a man. This quarterback gets hurt. What are we going to do now? They just go to Spencer Rattler and keep seeing what they have. I do think Taysom still has a role for this team. He has packages that can lead to 2 touchdown outcomes that are fantasy relevant, but his upside is going to be pretty low traditionally, and he's sadly not going to get a starting quarterback role, which he's never had really. So I wish my man, it'd be really fun to wake up to week 17 and see a bottom line from Adam Schefter, Taysom Hill starting quarterback, and I get to put him in my tight end. That'd be the best, but I sadly do not see that being the case.
I am 100% with you on this for sure. Ladies and gentlemen, his name is Vinny Bonta. He has no idea who plays who this week. And he sits in 9th place overall in the FFPC Big Event. If there has ever been a ringing endorsement of literally anybody can get up to the top 10 and make some big cash. Now, Vinny's a smart guy. And that there's no doubt after our conversation tonight. But the fact of the matter is, like, and you admitted all these mistakes you made, still in the top 10. Cam Scadaboo gets hurt. Travis Hunter gets hurt. You're making mistakes on the waiver wire and the lineups. You don't know who's playing who. 9th place overall in the main event. Kudos to you, sir, and kudos again. You are remarkably intelligent when it comes to this, and maybe not the greatest judge of talent as far as deciding whose podcast to come on, but we still you slumming it and hanging out with us tonight on a Friday night. We're going to let you get back to sports betting tonight.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for hopping aboard, dude. Good luck the rest of the way, and we'll definitely have you back on if indeed you do cash that $1 million.
Hey, thank you so much for having me. Ferrell, I am seeing Clemson up 1 with 1:20 left. So
never give up hope.
But never give up. Thank you so much, guys. It was an honor, it was a privilege, and hope everything goes well for you guys.
Absolutely. Good luck the rest of the way, Vinny. Thank you.
Thank you. Bye.
Yeah, we'll see you soon. Vinny Bonta, ladies and gentlemen. 9th
Vinny was here
in the main event. Yes, he was, and he crushed it. Super smart guy, super awesome. And we got something to watch now on our movie list with Margin Call now being added to mine. Did you ever see it, Farrell? Maybe
yes,
you saw
I
it.
have.
Okay, so it's on my list. It's on my list.
I'll watch it again, Balky. We'll watch it.
Okay, want to get to some emails here, some more emails that came in, some starter sit questions. Farrell, Gary in Crawfordville, Florida. Hey, guys, would you start Colston Loveland or Luke Musgrave this week?
Lord.
A tight end question, certainly not the greatest of tight end questions. Colston Loveland in Minnesota, Luke Musgrave in New York to take on the Giants in the Meadowlands. Ferrell, I am leaning, despite Cole Kmet being healthy, I'm leaning towards Loveland here.
Oh, of course you are, Balky, and I don't know why, other than you had to listen to too many of those pros that wanted Colston Loveland back in July and August. Don't do it, Balky. Musgrave's a player that we've always loved. The tight end position is important to Jordan Love and the Green Bay Packers. Put your Packer on the field. Colston Loveland is 21 catches this year, Balky. You're not going to get anywhere with that. Go ahead and invest in Musgrave this weekend.
You know, both of them are kind of like on the uptick, right? But Musgrave is not sharing that tight end position with anybody as talented as Cole Kmet. So I think there is something to be said for that as well. But are the Packers going to have to throw the ball? I don't know. The Giants' rush defense is so bad. It's just going to be a big Josh Jacobs game, in my opinion. Moving on to the quarterback position. Who's next? We have Dan in Buffalo Grove, Illinois. Do I have to play Joe Flacco in favor of Baker Mayfield in my Big Gorilla on Sunday? Thanks so much. That is Dan in Buffalo Grove, Illinois. Joe Flacco taken off the injury report. We were worried about the shoulder. He's not on there anymore. He goes to Pittsburgh. And remember the last time these two teams played, I believe it was a Thursday night game, and they called it the Icy Hot Bowl, right? Where Flacco and Rodgers they just both lit it up. It was insane. Flacco this week at Pittsburgh over Mayfield in Buffalo. I think I'm actually going to play Flacco here over Mayfield. Mayfield, yes, he's got Egbuka, but no Chris Godwin, obviously no Mike Evans. I know we like Tez Johnson, but I wonder
you love Tez Johnson.
This up with these sort of non-pedigreed receivers, whereas Flacco has Higgins and Chase.
You can't argue with the players around Flacco. Everyone knows I'm not a big Baker Mayfield fan, but Baker Mayfield seems to elevate his game to a level when he's playing against certain blue-blooded, pedigreed quarterbacks. So I'm gonna go ahead and say Baker Mayfield toe-to-toe with Josh Allen, who's not been his best lately. But I'm going to say that I'm going to run Baker Mayfield out there in what I think is a much more important game.
The running back question we have this week, or at least the running back question I've selected, comes to us from Mike in Trenton, Michigan. Torn between Kareem Hunt and Kenneth Walker for this week. What do you all think? Well, thank you for the email, number one. I will tell you that Kareem Hunt is in Denver, not the greatest matchup. Sharing the backfield maybe a little bit with Brashard Smith. We know Isaiah Pacheco got ruled out already, so we don't have to worry about him. And then you have Kenneth Walker, who after last week, it sort of went back to an even 50-50 split with him and Charbonnet in that backfield. Walker goes to Los Angeles. Again, not a great matchup there. I think I lean Kareem Hunt here. I don't love either of these plays this week, but I do trust the volume with Hunt a little bit more than I trust the volume with Walker at this point.
If I had to make this decision between now and Sunday, I would change it 6 or 8 times, and then I would think of Balky saying, if you think long, you think wrong. And with these two players, Walker is my sentimental favorite. Hunt is my touchdown-dependent favorite. And our emailer has really got himself into a rough situation here with these two players.
He didn't say, maybe he's missing Jonathan Taylor or Alvin Kamara or somebody like that. I have no idea, but yeah, it's not a great situation to be in. And this might come down to the coin flipping portion of fantasy lineup setting on Sunday morning when it comes to Hunt v. Walker. Jimmy Williams popping in right now on YouTube, Ferrell. He wants to know your take on Michael Wilson this week, with Marvin Harrison Jr. recovering from that appendectomy. What do you think about Michael Wilson for the Cardinals against the Niners this week, Ferrell?
Always liked him, always expected more. This might be the opportunity. We'll get Vinny back here. This could have been his sleeper. I noticed Mike Wilson going off the waiver wire to a lot of good players this week. I didn't make any bids on him. Sure, Jimmy, I kind of go with this player as a player I admire. I also like on this team Elijah Higgins, who seems to get 3 not fantasy relevant, but has been relevant for this team. But I believe Wilson could be the fantasy relevant player there. And I got to give a shout out to Jimmy Williams. He started our good friend Fetch losing streak. Poor Fetch. He beat Fetch in a game. In every fantasy listener, this is not helping anybody win everything. But anybody that's been on the show who might think this, why does this always happen to be? Jimmy beat Fetch by 0.70 points. Fetch came back the next week to score 201 point, only to have his opponent score 201.50.
Unbelievable.
And Jimmy is responsible for getting that started. So
Jimmy is an enemy of the Fetch program.
Yeah, enemy of the Fetch program, not declaratively. So Jimmy's not an enemy to anyone. He's absolutely the loveliest guy that you could ever meet. And I think he's going to come over and play in the Super Bowl, Super Sunday, Sweet 16, Balky, as you should.
That is the plan. That is the plan.
Okay.
Tom Smith also chiming in. Ferrell, this is an important question for you. Would you play Michael Wilson over Michael Pittman this week, even though Michael Pittman's on bye?
Is
Pittman a strong enough player to accrue points on the Colts bye week?
Tom, I've got players on my roster that I would rather put Pittman in and take a 0. Just take it like a man.
I want to get to one final receiver question here for this evening. Chuck in Davenport, New York. How's it going, gentlemen? Is this the week I bite the bullet and play Troy Franklin instead of Keenan Allen? Have a great week 11. That's Chuck in Davenport, New York. Chuck, thank you for the email. So this is interesting, Ferrell, because we have seen Troy Franklin over the last few weeks really step up his game, getting a lot of targets from Bo Nix. I want to say, don't quote me on this, I think he had like 10 or 11 targets last week.
Yeah.
Cortland Sutton had 4.
What kind of bullets is Chuck biting up there? I don't understand.
It's like Keenan Allen has been trending down, down, down with the emergence of Quentin Johnston, with the return of Ladd McConkey, with the ascendance of Aronde Gadsden. I don't think you're biting much of a bullet here. I think what Bob Harris from Football Guys always says, you divorce the name from the numbers. And if you just look at the numbers, this is a slam dunk, Troy Franklin.
Did Bob say that?
Bob Harris said that, yeah.
That's pretty impressive, Bob.
Yeah.
You should coin that. That's the best. That's the best expression I've heard since innocent bystander. That's really, really good.
So we are in agreement. It's Franklin, and it's not close.
Well, yeah, it's Franklin over a lot of guys. So who else you got on there, Chuck? Because Franklin might need to be playing in front of him too.
Yeah. Hopefully we helped everybody out tonight. I know I had a good time. I always have a good time with Ferrell Elliott. Ferrell, the KFFSC commissioner, the definitive commissioner of fantasy football. Check out the Kentucky Fantasy Football State Championship, KFFSC.com, and start registering for those big Super Sunday drafts coming up on Super Bowl Sunday this February, which is going to be a blast. I participated in them before, hoping to be live this year in Louisville, which is going to be fantastic, watching the Super Bowl at Caesars Southern Indiana and drafting fantasy teams on the same day. What more could you ask for? Ferrell, enjoy your weekend, my friend, and I will talk with you again next week.
Balky, it always goes by too fast, but I'll see you next Friday.
You got it. That is Ferrell Elliott hanging out with us here tonight on the High Stakes Fantasy Football Hour. KFFSC.com is where to go for his Kentucky Fantasy Football State Championship. I want to thank Ferrell Elliott, of course, Vinny Bonta hanging out with us tonight, the FFPC, Rob, Bryce, and of course, each and every one of you. We will be back next Friday, 10 p.m. Eastern time. The 15th place team owner in the Big Gorilla Tournament, Tommy D, will be joining us tonight. Tommy's got like 2 top 100 teams in the Big Gorilla. Had a lot of success in his FFPC career as well. Very excited to have him on next week. In case you missed it on Tuesday night, you can watch it or listen to it on the RotoViz family of podcasts or on the FFPC socials or anywhere you get podcasts, really. On the RotoViz High Stakes Lowdown that I hosted on Tuesday, we had 11th place team owner in the Big Gorilla, Dave Scioto, pop aboard for a really good discussion on managing your teams at this point of the season and how you can get your teams, maximize your chances at that $1 million grand prize. Next week, speaking of champions, 10 p.m. Eastern time on Tuesday night, the 13th place team owners in the FFPC main event, Donnie Andrews and Brady David will join me on the show. And if you say, Balky, those names sound familiar, yes, they should, because they were on this show 4 years ago after they won the 2021 FPC and the $500,000 that went along with it. And now they're making a charge at $1 million in the main event this year. So that'll be next Tuesday on the RotoViz High Stakes Lowdown. In case you missed the FFPC Insider Access show last night, Thursday, on the Better Sports Network or in the FFPC socials, you can watch it back there. Listen to it anywhere you get podcasts. I had on Rotoballer's Casey Kasem on the show, which was a lot of fun every time she joins. And then next Thursday night, we will have one Stacy Perez from Fantasy and Frames, FFPC Pros versus Joe's player, longtime KFFSC and FFPC champion as well. Very excited to chop it up with her for 2 hours next Thursday night. FFPC Weekly Challenge is live right now. No draft, no salary cap. Just pick 10 or 12 players, dependent upon if you want to play with kickers and defenses or not. And you can win up to $2,500, 10, 30, and 100 team contests. Only one player per NFL team. So if you want Joe Flacco, you can't have Jamar Chase. If you want Keenan Allen, you can't have Lad McConkey. MyFFPC.com is where to go for that. MyFFPC.com. Remember to like this video, subscribe to the channel, comment on the video, share it with your friends, share it with your enemies, and get notified each and every time we go live. Oinker says good night. And I can tell you that your weekend officially starts now.
This has been another episode of the High Stakes Fantasy Football Hour presented by myffpc.com. It was broadcast live and was watched around the world. Balky and Ferrell will be back next week with more analysis, more interviews, and more advice from guests much smarter than they are. Thanks for watching, and we'll talk with you again next week.
One final note before I sign off. I don't think I brought this up on the entire show tonight. We have a 9:30 a.m. Eastern time kickoff between the Commanders and Dolphins from Madrid, Spain on Sunday. So make sure you are getting your lineups for the FFPC submitted either Saturday night or early Sunday morning. And that Sunday morning waiver wire run that we have that goes off the board at 10 a.m. Sunday morning, those Commanders and Dolphins will not be eligible for that. So keep that in mind as you get set to enjoy Week 11 and make your FFPC fantasy football playoff push. Thanks for watching, everybody. Talk with you again next week.